Here's something you never thought you had to worry about until now. So you're going to get married, and then you find out that she was a call girl, a 304, not just the slang of 304, but actually selling her body and her services. I'll avoid saying the word for YouTube algorithms and censorship reasons until maybe later on in the video, but you get the idea. Okay. She was selling herself, and you find out that she was doing that. Or maybe you find out that she's still doing that while she's with you. Now you're thinking to yourself, this can't possibly be a reality. This is something that must be a rare thing that guys never run into. Well, I got some unfortunate news for you. We're in a current era of women who can freely sell their bodies and not get caught or not have any accountability or not have any kind of ostracization or shame or guilt or anybody even finding that out today. It used to be like, think of the olden times. Think going back even not that far, maybe to the Wild West in the 1800s. Okay. Selling your women selling themselves was a common profession. And in some old West towns that were dominated by men, like your mining towns and stuff like that, didn't have a lot of women and children and families living in those places. A lot of transients would come through. So the larger percentage of women in those towns were employed as sex workers. Okay. That's what they did. So we know that it's in a woman's, we'll say, nature or DNA to sell her body for sex or use her sexuality to get things, whether she's actually, in the profession or whether she's just getting dinners bought for her and dates bought or getting her lifestyle paid for in the context of a relationship, right? Using her sexual self to get things is kind of part of our DNA. We know that that's a fact. Well, now we have the internet and we have things like seeking arrangements and sugar baby type sites. We have things like webcamming and camming services. We have things like OnlyFans. So there's all of these outlets now for women to use their sexuality and sell their bodies for profit, for money, for stuff, right? So that's like a more normalized thing now. Now I'm not saying the large percentage of women do it, but definitely a larger percentage of women do it than you think. And of course, as per usual, in our gynocentric society, we're not going to research this stuff with any integrity. So you're not going to be able to Google search right now to figure out how many women are sex workers, what percentage, and get any kind of accurate number to that. Because do you think those numbers or that little Google search that you're going to do or your chat GBT or your Grok X search is going to pull all the information from the internet and give you an accurate answer? I don't think so. All of these college girls and all these girls under the age of 25 who are on sugar dating sites and getting stuff paid for, right? There's a large percentage of them. You never know who they are. And this has been going on for a very long time. I've talked with many women over the years who have done this and they don't tell their relationship partners. And what's worse is there's many women who do this and they don't tell their relationship partners. A very common thing, because my girlfriend is younger and so she in her 20s. So she interacts with other women in their 20s and they have friends and friends of friends. And put it this way, there's a very fairly large percentage of women, more than just 1 or 2%. Okay. Probably closer to, if I had to take a guess, 20%. All right. Of women out there, which means 1 in 5, which is pretty high. There's women out there who have boyfriends that they don't have sex with. This is like a typical mid 20 something girl right now who's been raised by feminism. She's working on her career, working on herself, or working on something, right, in college or in a job somewhere, maybe just finished college and interning somewhere, whatever, right? And she might bartend or work a restaurant or work some service industry once or twice a week for extra money, work her day job that she's trying to build up. And then here's her dating life. She'll have a guy who's like a boyfriend who she is a nice guy, that's her age, that's presentable, that she can bring to family events, that can show up on Christmas, right? She'll have that guy and she'll have sex with that guy, but she doesn't particularly enjoy having sex with that guy. And then she is cheating on that guy with somebody she does enjoy having sex with, usually an older guy who's more dominant and has a few girls that he sleeps with, right? And then on top of that, she'll have a couple of guys that she'll meet up with or she'll have an online relationship with that will send her money. Guys are dying to send women money. Why? Because they're simps, right? So like the large majority and percentage is such a percentage, high percentage of men who are just simps today. Like they don't have real relationships and they just love sending girls money for shit. And they'll send girls money for shit who you aren't even asking for it. So what do you think happens when she's got a Snapchat or she's got something like that? And guys are sending her money for nudes, sending her money to hang out, sending her money for sex. You see where this goes? So, do you think that percentage on your Google search, when you search for what percentage of women are sex workers, you're a naive fuck, okay, if you think that number's going to be correct, because all of these fucking girls are doing all this shit. Not every girl out there, right? But like a big percentage. Guaranteed, if you're dating a girl right now in her 20s in the United States, she knows a girl or two who does this. This is their lifestyle, okay? So, what you're seeing now and what you're going to see in the future is a larger percentage of women who are choosing to try to stick the landing, as the slang goes, to get the husband and all of her shit paid for and a couple kids, maybe before a nice divorce that she can siphon some money out of that guy's pocket, move on to the next thing. There's plenty of women who are looking to do that, who have a history of some level of sex work, whether it was camming, whether it was the sugar baby thing is rampant, right? Young ass girls getting purses and stuff bought for them from older guys. Sometimes those things are for sexual favors. Sometimes those things are just for attention, but you never really know, do you? If you're the guy that's dating her now. So women are selling their bodies. That is what's going on now. Okay. All women? No, but a large percentage. Yeah, a much larger percentage than your little Google search is going to tell you. Okay. So and you need to know this. Why do you need to know this? Because you need to know what to do about this. Now, this is going to lead into another video on Christian men in particular, because my Christian friends out there, you guys seem to love simping for horse. Like that is like your favorite thing to do outside of, going to church and being a good guy, I guess. Like your second favorite thing seems to be simping for sex workers. Like that seems to be the thing, or former sex workers, or reformed, I found Jesus sex workers. That's like the thing you guys love. And of course, you're leading men the wrong way. You're leading men into relationships with these women when these women are not deserving of the relationship because they're not relationship capable. And I'm not saying that every girl who's dabbled in sex work isn't relationship capable, but certainly a large percentage of them are not. And you are steering them into those types of relationships, normalizing it, making it okay without any sort of vetting process. Oh, she came to church, she puts on a show right at the right time. She's approaching 30. She wants to get married, wants to have kids. So now she goes to church and renounces her life as a 304. And you guys are like, oh, wow, amazing. You know what I mean? Meanwhile, you got plenty of women out there who didn't do that, who made the hard choice, because it is a harder choice, to not just sell their vaginas, right? You guys are ignoring them. It's a thing that Christians do. I don't understand it. It's the prodigal son misinterpreted and gone wrong. You're ignoring the women out there who have some level of accountability in their lives and who've made good choices in favor of pedestalizing 304s. It's like your favorite, not all of you guys, obviously, but some of you guys, it's like your favorite damn thing to do. That'll be our next video. All right. But leading into that, we're going to talk about whoredom in general and how freaking common that is. And you need to understand this because you need to be a lot more savage than you have been in the dating market, right? You need to be a lot more ruthless with these women because they are not treating themselves like somebody that should be taken care of by you, and they're not showing up like somebody who is, earning the right to be taken care of by a good guy. So you guys need to stop gifting them with that and ruining your lives. All right. And that's the thing. You guys are not ruthless enough because you're too desperate and too simping for these girls, looking for any and every opportunity you can because you're porn brained and you're corrupted and you're fucked up. And so you need to fucking fix it. And so that's what we're going to try to work on now. I want to illuminate to you this is actually a real thing. Okay. That many of you guys, probably a lot more than you think, are going to wife up a whore. That is what you're going to do. And I don't mean just somebody with a body count, I mean somebody who actively was profiteering off of her sexuality. You guys are going to wife that up. Okay. Many of you guys listening to this, that's what you're going to do. And I'm hoping to stop it. All right. I'm hoping to do a video to illustrate some of the problems. Now, once again, this is not to say that every girl who made mistakes in her life and even did some sex work. In some ways, I respect the sex workers more than the girls who just railed notches up for free. Hell, at least they got paid for it. But the point is either thing is not conducive of having a long-term relationship. It really is a mistake and something that needs to be dealt with on a psychological and emotional level. And if a girl makes any mistakes, just like you as a guy make any mistake in your life, you have to deal with those mistakes on a psychological and emotional level. I'm not one to judge anybody. Trust me. I got a pile of bodies behind me myself, both from murder as well as body count. Okay. I am not anybody who can judge any of you, but I have to work on my inner game and understand the mistakes I've made in my past so I don't repeat those mistakes in the future. And I don't expect a girl like my very good looking girlfriend, for example, to build a life and a future with me if I'm a guy who hasn't dealt with my past and my stuff. And this is the same standard you guys need to have for the women in your lives. It's not so much what they've done in their past, it's how they're handling it now. And most of the time, it's all bullshit. And you guys let them get away with it. That's the problem, right? And so it's your lack of boundaries and standards and the heavy simping that you guys can't get away from. It makes this situation where you get into it with a girl and you have such scarcity with women that you end up devoting your life to somebody who is not commitment capable, who has a history of 304 behavior, literally getting paid for it, and is going to continue that history through your relationship and destroy you mentally, emotionally, financially. All right. And so that is the problem. So that's why we need to illustrate this. So I'm going to read you a little bit of story. Okay. Story time. Let's do this. All right. This is from an article. I'll probably put the article in what you call it, the description. I'm going to read through this and pause throughout parts of it. Oh, I should say, listen, because of the behaviors of women and the way the dating market is, you are insane if you think you're going to navigate this on your own. Okay. You are not. You are going to fail. It's just a matter of to what degree if you don't start getting some support and learning how to do this stuff. I had to learn it. Took me years of dealing with years of mistakes, first of all, but also years of studying psychology and studying male female dynamics, decades, in fact, before I got to a point where I could coach and teach men like yourself. All right. You can shortcut all that and just get into my community and start firing questions out and asking for advice and getting feedback and getting some accountability. Okay. If you try to do this on your own, or if you try to do this with your social circles that are around you of other guys who don't know either what they're supposed to do, you're going to fail. All right. It's not, it can be amazing for you. I have a lot of guys having a great time with women. All right. They're having great, like they're just, I have a lot of guys who are doing really well. All right. And I'm happy, right? I'm doing pretty well. There's a lot of people out there that are, but we're on like this oasis. Okay. We're not the statistical norm. Most people, particularly men, are doing horrible with women. It's just a matter to what degree. You need to step out of that. And the first step in stepping out of that is joining my community. It's free. The link is in the description. There are other coaching programs and other things that do cost money, but this community is a free service for you. And I got free courses in the community that'll help get you started, as well as accountability sheets, stuff like that. So go get in there. I got things coming up too within the next month. Another course is coming up on inner game, because I'm realizing just how you guys need to really level up your ruthlessness and level up some of your, there's too much weakness. I don't want to say, I want to throw out the P word, right? Call everybody whatever, but there's too much weakness in men today. And everybody could use a gut check, and taking those weaknesses that you have and flipping those around and turning those into strengths. That's the nature of what this inner game course is going to be about. I'll have more announcements to that in the future. All right. But the key is you got to follow my stuff beyond my YouTube and get in my community. That's what's going to help you. So now to this article. I'm just going to sort of read through it and stop periodically. So she writes, as I creep into bed after midnight, my dozing husband Peter mumbles, "How was your night, dear?" As I quickly undress and slip between the sheets, little does he realize that only a few hours earlier, his wife had been in a similar position with another man who was paying £500 for the pleasure. By day, I'm a housewife and a mother of three, but at least 3 nights a week, I'm a high-class escort earning thousands of dollars a month. But while you might expect I was driven to prostitution by poverty or by some desperate need for money, the real reason I sell my body is because I enjoy it. Although I know it would tear my marriage apart if my husband ever found out. All right, so I'm going to pause on this. There's this myth out there that women who, and this is promoted by guys I really respect too, and it really bothers me, right? This is like a Daily Wire kind of stuff, right? I actually enjoy some of the guys over at the Daily Wire. I respect their point of view on a lot of things, but this would be something that they would screw up here, right? Is this assumption that these women who are prostituting themselves are victims. I hear that all the time. And it seems to be coming more from like the Christian conservative side, which is why I'll have a follow-up video on that soon here, right? And these are people I respect. I'm not against you guys, okay? That's you. I'm not against you. I'm on your team, okay? But you're looking at this all the wrong way. We cannot remove accountability from women, okay? Including women in your own life. We keep doing that as men. That's the most simping thing we could do. And it hurts the women and it hurts us and it kills society and it's killed relationships. It's just been a disaster. Okay. So accountability is key, no matter who you are. And we cannot artificially remove that. And what a lot of you guys do is assume, because that's the narrative. Whenever a girl sells her body, she's like, "Oh, I'm just a victim." Like that's her mindset. If she's not outright lying about being trafficked, which is that really pisses me off too, because women will lie about being trafficked. There's women that are actually trafficked. There's women that die from trafficking. They get kidnapped, forced into prostitution, fed drugs to be kept as a prisoner until they eventually just die. You know what I mean? And they do. What a horrible thing that there's horrible sexual slavery going on in the world. And then you have women lying. And I just want to I hope there's a special place when they die where there's fire and brimstone for a while, maybe forever, because you're going to do sex work and then lie about it and say you were a victim, say you were trafficked, taking away from all of those who are actually being trafficked right now to this day, children and young teens and girls. That to me, like, full stop. Like if you find out, if you're with some girl, man, and she did some sex work stuff and then she lies about it and it's like, and you figure it out that she's just lying and saying, "Oh, I was trafficked, I was forced into it." And then you find out that's bullshit. That's somebody to kick to the curb, like 100%. I just don't, think I could morally, I'm not a big, again, I'm not a judgmental person. I'm not a big moral grandstanding person, but I have a real problem with that. Anyways, at any rate, okay, you have these women who they will act like after their party years of getting paid to escort, bang dudes, cam, do all the stuff, they will cry and act like, oh, I was abused when I was young, and that led me to this path of destruction. They all have the same story about how they're these poor little victims of their own behavior. Bullshit. And it's bullshit. Okay. Even if they had some bad things happen to them, there's plenty of girls who have bad things happen to them that deal with it differently and don't end up selling their bodies. So don't accept from anybody unless they were kidnapped by, like, a sex trafficking ring, you know what I mean? And missing, okay, from civilized society for years. Unless it was something like that, I don't want to hear, oh, it's not my fault. I was a victim. I just didn't know any better. Like, oh, I was poor. So what? How many of you guys grew up, or we're listening right now? How many of you guys grew up poor? Did you have to sell your ass to make money, or did you have to figure it out? Right? Women have more opportunity now in the job market than men. Yet they're still selling their vaginas. Why? Because they want to. They like to. They like the attention. Okay? They like it. All right? That's why. Most women who do sex work like doing sex work, and it's easy money for them. It's not a moral um you don't have any they don't have any moral difficulties with this. Okay, they're not being victimized by anyone. And so I'm glad at least that this woman's honest. And you guys need to be honest with yourselves. Don't accept that stuff. All right, it's all bull crap. All right, she likes it. She likes the money. She likes the attention. She likes having sex with strangers. She likes it, guys, and that's why she's still doing it. And there's also an element of cucking. Go back and watch my cuck videos. For whatever reason, those are super popular. But there's a psychology for a woman when it comes to cucking a guy. When I say cucking, I mean using her sexuality with other men to disrespect and degrade the man that she's in a relationship with, right? She likes cucking her husband. This is something she gets a thrill off of. And then she's making a few $1,000s a month. Do you think that she's sharing that money with the family? Or do you think she's putting it in a hidden account for when she eventually divorces this guy? You see? Now, okay, we can look at this woman and go, she's a terrible woman, blah, 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 right? There's a high percentage of women who are on the same path, just to slightly different degrees. And that's not even what I want you to think about. I want you to think about the guy on the other side. Okay. What's the guy on this other side experiencing? He's being lied to, gaslit, and he thinks everything is just fine. He doesn't have boundaries in his life. He doesn't have standards for his relationship. I have a whole course and documents that is available to my mastermind guys and elite members that covers cheat proofing your relationship, having boundaries and standards in your life. Guaranteed, this husband has none. He's been socially conditioned, just like you have, to not have boundaries and standards for your life and for your relationship. And so what happens? This is what happens. His wife's out 3 nights a week, 2 nights a week, banging other dudes for money. And he has no idea. That's crazy. Like, my girlfriend couldn't be out doing that often and get away with it. No way. Especially if we're cohabitating. Absolutely not. Do you know what I mean? We share GPS locations. I know where she is at all times. She would have to really go above and beyond to try to dupe me. And it might, if it works at all, it would only work a couple of times. For this guy to get duped to this manner, it's not just that he's too trusting, it's that he doesn't have any standards for himself. Sharing locations, for example, is a simple standard for a cohabitating relationship where you're building a life together. It's a simple safety thing. My girlfriend likes sharing her location with me because she knows that she's safe. She has had, because she's hot, she's had a lot of weirdos right after her, still does, I'm sure. So she likes to know that I know where she's at. It's not a situation where she's trying to conceal her location. So she couldn't be meeting, you know what I mean? Like, and that's how it should be. These two people are married and he doesn't know where she's at 2, 3 days a week. And she's supposed to be a mom. But that's what's going on. And you know what? So many of you guys run your relationships like this. So many guys in the civilized world here. We're talking upscale America, suburban America, couple kids, soccer practice, the whole 9 yards, good incomes, all that stuff. We're talking the upper middle class. This is your damn relationships. A bunch of simping men with no boundaries and no standards, and wives just disappearing and running off several nights a week with no questions being asked. And if you ask a question or have any standard or boundary, what are you? Insecure, right? That's the slavery that you guys have bought into. All right, let's keep going or I'll never get through this. I don't stand on street corners dressed in high thigh boots and mini skirts. Even when I'm heading out the door to a meeting, you would never know I was a prostitute. I usually look like I'm off to a nice restaurant for dinner, not a hotel room for a night of passion. Becoming a prostitute was the last thing I'd ever considered doing until a friend confided in me one night that she was an escort. At first, I couldn't believe it. I thought she worked in sales. She told me, even though she had a partner who knew nothing about her part time job, she worked as an escort because she enjoyed it. She met rich men who paid her hundreds of dollars a night, and she never felt threatened or uncomfortable. I can't deny I was intrigued. I knew my friend wasn't stupid, and I wouldn't do anything dangerous or seedy. I was bored with my job at Stables, and even though I loved my husband and my kids, I wanted some excitement in my life. Just being a wife and a mom was dull. Out of curiosity, I looked up escort agencies in my area on the internet. While they didn't advertise sex, my friend said they left the extras up to each individual girl. To this day, I still can't believe I did it, but I picked up the phone and called an agency. And 2 days later, I went for an interview. I felt like a naughty schoolgirl, but surprisingly, I didn't feel guilty about going behind my husband's back. I just kept thinking that what he doesn't know can't hurt him. Okay, guys, this is not just a crazy one off story about a crazy one off woman. This is a story of women. Okay. Many women behave and operate on the same wavelength and the same way. This is the risk you take when you take on a girl with a history, a body count, whatever it may be. This girl wasn't even an escort prior to being married. This is also the risk you take when she has friends with 304s. How many of you guys are dating women or have dated women who had ratchet 304 friends? Pretty much all of us, right? Well, those friends have an influence on this girl's frame. Now, what's the answer? The answer is having game and having frame. If you have frame in your relationships, you have game, which means communication skills and seduction skills, and you have boundaries and standards, and you have a good inner game. So you're not going to simp for some girl, but you're going to have a good vetting process for a girl. You're going to be fine. You're not going to be with some girl building a life and find out that she's a prostitute. That's probably not in your future. How many of you guys listening to me right now fit what I just said, though? Most of you do not fit that. Most of you do not have these things in order so that this doesn't happen to you or something else that's just as bad, right? Their marriage is obviously on the road and on the pathway to divorce. She'll have a bunch of money saved up from escorting, and then she'll take half of his, leaving him in shambles once the kids are old enough. And then she'll go on to the next thing, living her best life. This guy thinks he's building a life with his wife, and really she's using him as a stepping stone to the next thing. Most of you guys who get married have this happen to you. Sorry, it's not even, it's the statistics, right? Statistically speaking, women are filing for divorce, 75% chance more than men, and divorces are happening over half the time. So over half the time, divorces are happening. And there's even the joke, of course, and there's always truth and jest about starter marriages. Women assume that the guy that they settle down with the first time isn't going to be the guy they stick with, even when they make up a story and convince that guy otherwise. That's the reality of it. And if you do not have the skills to navigate this landmine, okay, that marriage and relationships are in 2025, you're fucked. Okay. You're absolutely fucked. There is no up or down about it. I work with a lot of guys who are doing awesome, but they're doing awesome because they learn the skills. They figured out these things. They got some training. Okay. They have standards. They had to work on their inner game. You have to work on shit differently today than your grandfather had to when he was up and coming, because your grandfather and your great grandfather didn't have the social conditioning to make him a simp like you do. Okay. And even if you're not a simp and you fought against that and you've managed to find stuff like my content, you're not there yet. The biggest illusion now we have in 2025, which is different than like 5 years ago, but the biggest illusion we have now is you guys think you know shit. Well, you fucking don't. You can regurgitate red pill concepts or some stuff that you've heard on the internet that's now become mainstream, but you don't have the skills to navigate it yet. Most of you. Okay. So that's the biggest hurdle I have now with you guys, because you can regurgitate some stuff from YouTube and from the internet. You think you know things and you don't. And that's the trick. And women are running right over you. And that's the ones that you get because a lot of you guys aren't getting the women. Okay, so you can't get women. And then when you eventually manage to stumble across one, you end up in a relationship. And this is the risk that you're taking because you just don't have those skills developed. Knowing things and having information is not the same as having skills. I can read about golf all day long. And guess what? If I don't go to the golf course and practice and get some training from a pro, I'm not going to be very good. Okay. You just like you need the skills in golf to be a good golfer. You need the skills in shooting or jujitsu to be a good jujitsu player, to be a good shooter and accurate, accurate with a weapon. You can't just read about it or listen to it on YouTube. You have to learn skills, guys. Okay. So back to it. This girl, obviously, she likes this excitement. This is the excitement that she needs. This is what happens when a woman doesn't have genuine, burning, high desire for a guy. This is what happens when the guy she marries, which might be you, okay? Because statistically speaking, it's going to be a fair amount of you listening to me. When you guys are just simps and you play it safe and you're afraid to sexualize and you're afraid to, you're afraid to talk to a girl a certain way. You're afraid to tell her no. You're afraid to lose a girl because you haven't had a date in 6 months, right? Like this is the shit that happens. She's not very excited about you. And then she gets her excitement from other penises who are paying for her by the hour. So I continue with the article. My first client was booked for Saturday straight away, began to wonder if I did the right thing. They assured me that all men have been vetted and I'd be safe. The arrangement was he'd pay me $180 cash for an hour and a further fee to the agency by credit card over the phone. They gave me the address and I arrived at 8 p.m. I didn't know what to expect. Peter was the only man I'd slept with in years, so having sex with someone else is going to be very strange. As soon as he answered the door, I knew I couldn't go through with it. He was old, fat, and bald, and I made excuse about leaving my phone in the car, and I did a runner. I feel so stupid, and I couldn't wait to go home. So that was her first time, didn't go well, right? Because the guy wasn't attractive or enough for her. My escort friend thought it was hilarious and suggested that I try working with her. She said she'd put me in touch with the right type of clients and could guarantee I wouldn't find any of them unattractive. Okay. Well, I'll get into that in a second. Reluctantly, I agreed. And the following week, I found myself in another doorstep in a posh area. This time, the man was much better looking, about 45, tall and well built. He was just my type. We chatted over drinks for an hour, and by the time he suggested we go upstairs, I was a little tipsy, which helped. I was unsure of what I was meant to do, but he took the lead, and soon we were naked in bed. I thought it would be awkward and difficult, but instead I found myself enjoying it. We had sex 3 times in the space of 2 hours. He didn't ask me to do anything kinky or weird. It was very straightforward. What is she saying? This should fly in the face of what a lot of guys think, right? When your girl is and you guys are quizzing her about her sexual history because you're worried about it, right? And you're thinking, "Oh no, she had a good time sexually with someone else and maybe I'm not the one." And if you think that, there's a good chance you're right, especially if you haven't had any skills in seduction, you haven't had any training, you haven't had any sexual training. You don't I mean, if you're on your own trying to figure this stuff out, chances are you're not the best sex partner she ever had. I mean, there's a very good chance of that. I mean, it's hard to say though, right? Because women are not having good sex, people are not having good sex in general. But at the same time, you know there's there's enough people that are, and enough opportunities to have that, enough people who will get the training and learn the skills. And so if that's not you, there's a chance that she's getting banged by somebody who did. And even if it's not so much skills, just popping a blue pill. Don't think that these guys who are an attractive guy with money who's going to pay for a prostitute, don't think he's not paying for Viagra too, right? So he's popping a pill, he's getting a hard on, and he's railing your girl out for sex 3 times in 2 hours. All right. When was the last time you had sex 3 times in 2 hours with your girl? I mean, some of you do it all the time, and that's good, but many of you don't, right? Don't even try to cap in my comments with this shit. Okay, either. I don't care. I don't care to hear your story. All right, about that. But you get what I'm saying. These girls who are running through notches and getting paid for it in some cases, who are paying, getting paid, they want everything. Don't think that the sexual time they're having is so terrible and they have to cry their way through it. Like, girls will act like when you sort of try to get information from them, like they'll act like they were a victim, you know what I mean, of their sexual past. Like, oh, it was terrible. You know what I mean? Like, and they're full of shit. They're full of shit. Now, sometimes they're not, but you probably do not have the vetting skills to recognize the difference, right? The girl who is telling the truth and the girl who is lying to you, they're gonna say the same thing. Oh, sex just it wasn't like it is with you. You're my special guy, you know. And so they all have that to say. Sorry, it's just the way it is, right? And she's not telling you that the guy she hooked up with on a one night stand, or when she was used to be a sugar baby, and the old guy paid for her for a meetup. She's not telling you he banged her 3 different times and made her come made her come 7 times in 2 hours, right? She's not telling you the times that she's had better sex with other people as a sex worker than she's had in your relationship. And certainly this girl is having better sex with her clients in a lot of cases than in her relationship, though she will say otherwise to ego protect and try to feel like a good person, right? So continuing with the article, he paid me 400 and thanked me for a great evening. I didn't feel remotely cheap or dirty. Right. She didn't feel cheap or dirty because the guy was attractive and she had a good time. You see how that works? I felt empowered and pleased with myself for making such a lot of money for what seemed to be so little effort. I have never looked back. This is my 4th year as an escort. Most of the time, I meet men in hotel rooms, and sometimes they ask me to come to their houses, often when their wives are away. One man always takes me out to a fancy restaurant before we go back to the hotel to any of the other diners. We must look like a normal couple. They never guess he's paying me 500 a night for the privilege. Most want sex or oral sex. Some ask me to tie them up. I always use condoms because you can never be too careful. I'm happy to dress up too, and she talks about that. I rarely stay more than 3 hours, or my husband will wonder where I'd gone. Peter is in the oil industry and works abroad, so when he is away, I get a babysitter to watch my children, who are 14 and 10. The men I meet are almost always well off, and I've been bought perfume, flowers, even designer handbags. A few have asked me out on dates, and I've declined. I never tell anyone I'm married, but they often tell me about their wives. I do feel sorry for these women, but they aren't my responsibility. Yeah, so women don't care. All right. Not all women, of course, but women, a fair amount, a high percentage of women do not care. Okay. They don't care about you. They care about what they can get from you. They don't care about hurting other women and other wives. They just don't care. They'll say things to save face, but it's not true. Right. I work about 3 nights a week when my husband is away, 2 when he's here. He thinks I'm with friends or at the gym. I do feel guilty about lying to him, but I enjoy my job and I'm not willing to give it up. Thankfully, he'll never see this article because he doesn't read newspapers. Even though I can make up to 3,000 a week easily, I'm not in it for the money. I'm in control and it gives me a buzz to think men are willing to pay to have me. My earnings give me freedom, but I can't splash my cash or my husband will get suspicious. I spend most of it on my kids anyway. That's a cope. You're not spending, you know, whatever she's making a month. She says she could make up to 3,000 a week easily. So let's say she's making 10,000 a month, right? Conservatively. She's not spending that all on her kids. That's going into the when I divorced my husband account, guaranteed. When I was pregnant with my daughter, I stopped working for nearly a year, but as soon as I was back in shape, I called my regulars. Yeah, these women have regulars. So it's like having a boyfriend or on the side. It's like having side dudes they cheat with, but the guys pay her, right? I love my husband and we have a great sex life. Dope. There's no emotional attachment to the men I sleep with. This is just a job. And then that's the end of the article, I believe. Yeah. So there you go. Okay. Look, this isn't just to stimulate your anxiety unnecessarily, but if your anxiety is stimulated, good. Okay. Because too many of you guys are retarded. Okay. You're simping for women. You're porn brained. You're functioning incels and lying to yourself about it. You don't do well with your relationships and you make excuses for yourselves. And you don't have the skills to deal with this sort of problem. You don't have the skills to date. You don't have the skill. And this is successful guys. Some of you guys are successful. You have a lot of shit going for you. You're good looking. And I'm talking to you. Okay. You're too fucking arrogant and you don't have the skills to navigate this shit. This fucking guy here, her husband, probably thinks his life is awesome. He probably thinks things are great. And she probably touches his wiener just enough so he doesn't ask questions. And this is what she's doing on the side. And what's going to happen is when things get boring enough, she'll divorce him. That's what's going to happen. She's cheating in this relationship and getting paid for it. And that's what keeps things together for now. Make no mistake that this woman, who is very much an opportunist, like many women out there, is going to take the next opportunity once she's old enough to where maybe escorting isn't going to be paying the bills the way she likes, isn't going to give her the excitement she likes, and she'll move on to the next thing, like being single and taking half of her husband's money. Kids are 10 and 14, so it's only a few years before those kids get older, and she's old enough to make that decision. This man is effectively a slave, and this woman is effectively a parasite. And many of you guys, I would argue most, do not have the skills to navigate this. You don't have the abundance with women to not fall into this trap, and you don't have the frame with your relationships to prevent anything like this from happening, whether it's cheating, whether it's just her losing interest and losing sexual interest in you altogether, hiding money, disrespecting you, doing things behind your back and not really caring too much about it, right? Many of you don't have frame to prevent that from happening. You need to learn stuff. You need to learn the skills. You need to take a hard look in the mirror, okay, and realize I don't have it and I need to learn it. I'm not saying you guys can't get it. I'm not just sitting here shaming you and telling you you're this, that, and the other because you're doomed for failure. Okay. I'm saying that you all have the ability to have great relationships and to do well in life. But you need to know that this kind of crap is going on, and it's going on at a scale that is to a level that we don't understand yet. It's got to be at least, I'm going to guess, 1 in 10, if not, I would say 1 in 5, probably, of women that are settling down today in 2025 have done some form of sex work at some point in her life or have done something close. I have to just guess. I don't know because, and you don't know either. And your Google search does not know because gynocentric social order, we're not doing the research. We're not trying to find out. Most men are weak and are willing to tell themselves a bullshit story so they can ignore problems and not fix anything and not face things. So, why wouldn't it be that way when it comes to researching sex work, right? Guys in general don't want to know. And girls, they ain't going to tell you. But the problem is you're not going to have a happy relationship with that level of secrecy and dishonesty. When a girl is able to do stuff like this, or maybe not like this, but do other things, right? That's not good or conducive of healthy relationships. She can do all those things, get away with them with no accountability, lie to you about it. Or if she does tell you in such a way where she's the victim and cry, 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 and you'll buy it, you'll believe her bullshit, you'll give her a pass. She doesn't learn anything. She doesn't make herself better. She doesn't become the woman that you need her to be in a good relationship with you. When she has all of these behaviors and then never gets called out and never fixes anything. And you guys are quick to simp for them, love them, fall in love, and wife them up and give them all the rewards while they continue to not have accountability in their lives. And you become a slave to their imperative. And you don't find out until you've wasted your life. You're in your 40s trying to figure out why the girl you married doesn't fucking like you anymore and why she won't work on anything and why you're having to file for a divorce why she's filing for divorce. You're trying to figure it out and put all the pieces together like this is a big surprise. It's not a surprise. I do this for a living. I can see you guys. Will you meet with me one time? Tell me what your relationship's like. I'll fucking see where it's going. It's your friends can. Anyone who doesn't have blinders on can see it, but you. And it's because you just need to have the skills and you need to start facing this stuff. And so, anyways, it's a little bit of a kick in the ass today for some of you guys. Hopefully, it meant something to you. Hopefully, you're going to take it to heart. Hopefully, it'll pull your head out of the sand. Okay. There's things you can have a great life, a great marriage if you want a marriage, a great relationship, right, with women, great dating opportunities. You don't have to put up with slavery and bullshit, and lies and dishonesty and lack of accountability, 304 stuff. You don't have to put up with all that. You can have a great life, but you're not going to get it on accident. So start taking some action, boys. Till next time.